Welcome to Business Nuggets, business wisdom shared by master trainers, coaches and mentors. Brought to you by U2K Consulting. Power to rise and surge. Hello, I am Sankara Ramnath. With me today in conversation is Dr. Kaustubh Dhargalkar. Kaustubh is a graduate from IT BHU, an MMS from General Bajaj, and a PhD from the Mumbai University. He is an entrepreneur turned academician, and he has mentored more than 100 startups in the last 8 years. He is also a mentor at the Center for Innovation, Incubation and Enterprise with IIM Ahmedabad. Kaustubh, good to have you with us today.
My pleasure.
And let's start with the basic question as to what exactly is innovation.
I'll keep the answer very short. Bringing something new into the world is being creative. Now, bringing something new to the world that is of value is innovation. But finally, innovation has to have a recipient. Creativity need not have a recipient. It could be just doing things differently. But innovation is something that brings value to an end user or to an end purpose. That's how I would, creativity which brings value. In short, I would say that is innovation.
So it has to meet the expectation of the recipient.
Yes.
So do we start with the expectation, or how does innovation start?
Absolutely. I mean, it has to start with the user, because finally you're doing it for someone. So you better get that person's expectations into your locus right at the beginning, rather than ideating in vacuum and figuring out that there are no takers for it. So it's an iterative process, which typically a designer uses. A designer, the way they function, they necessarily create something for the future based on what people are saying today and what their expectations will be of the future. So, and they come back to the drawing board, create a prototype, then take that prototype out to try out with a certain target group.
So innovation is creating something new which adds value to the customer, and therefore we start with the customer's need, and then how do we bring value to the company which is actually innovating?
As you mentioned perfectly, that it has to start with that user. We have to take the needs of that user and the aspirations and the complaints that that user is having today into consideration while we create something new. Now, for that to happen, that entire organization has to be focused on capturing what the end user wants. And not many organizations are able to do that. Most organizations operate from a perspective of we are making something and we are trying to sell something. But that perspective, I see it's gradually changing over the last 10 years to something that first we try to find what people use and then see whether we can make something that people will buy or use. So it's a 180-degree different approach to business. Rather than trying to sell what we make, it should be trying to make what might sell. So that's the genesis of an innovative organization.
And you mentioned it's an iterative process.
Yes.
So can you just elaborate on how the iterations takes place in a new product development, for example?
Nobody can come up with a perfectly usable product in the first attempt. When companies use this approach, which I call typically as a design thinking or a design process in action, is when we start with the user at the center, take that person's or that group of customers, their needs into consideration, come back to the drawing board, create a blueprint, maybe create a prototype, take that prototype out there in the market, let people test out, try out, gather, have a robust mechanism to gather that feedback, work on it again, maybe a second level prototype, slightly higher resolution prototype comes up, try it on some other target, some other people from the same target segment. They will give some more feedback, come back to the drawing board, upgrade it, And that's how that iterative process should be actually, applied. And not many organizations today are equipped to kind of handle this as an iterative process. A lot of people want to quickly roll out something and get it going in the market. That's not something which really works. But at the same time, with technologies catching up so much, companies also don't have so much lead time that they can wait for a perfect product to come out. So that's where the lean startup kind of mechanism, or the lean mechanism, which talks about get your MVP, minimum viable product, out in the market, let users use it, get some feedback, and quickly keep on upgrading that stuff. So that's a fine thin line which businesses have to really balance. Time to market and avoiding competition from eating into that time and getting out in the market before you know.